Nobody inside that stadium saw it coming. One moment the game was moving at its normal rhythm, pitches being thrown, runners advancing, managers making their calculations from the dugout steps. The kind of baseball that fills stadiums and keeps millions of people watching every single night. And then in one instant, one single, catastrophic instant, everything stopped. Shohei Ohtani was down. Not slowing down. Not stepping out of the batter's box to shake something off. Not calling timeout to adjust his equipment. Down. On the ground. In a way that made every person in that stadium go completely, absolutely silent in the space of a single heartbeat. And the player responsible for putting him there was a New York Met. What followed in the next several minutes was one of the most dramatic, most intense, most shocking sequences of events that baseball has witnessed this season. A brawl that emptied both dugouts and both bullpens simultaneously. An injury that sent the entire Dodgers organization into immediate crisis mode. And an MLB investigation that was confirmed before the final out of that game had even been recorded. This is the full story. And it is far from over. To understand what happened, it is necessary to go back to the moment before the moment, to the sequence of events that created the conditions for something this serious to occur. The Dodgers and the Mets had been playing a game that carried more tension than the scoreboard alone could communicate. These are two franchises with championship expectations. Two rosters built to compete at the highest level. And two sets of players who understood clearly that every game between these teams carried implications that extended far beyond a single entry in the standings column. The atmosphere inside the stadium reflected all of that. It was loud. It was charged. And according to multiple sources present in both dugouts, there had already been moments during the game that suggested the tension between these two teams was operating closer to its limit than anyone was publicly acknowledging. That was the environment when Shohei Ohtani came to the plate. And that was the environment when the Met star made the play that changed everything. According to multiple sources with direct knowledge of what occurred, the play was not accidental in any way that those who witnessed it could honestly describe. The positioning was wrong. The timing was wrong. And the force involved, the degree of physical aggression applied in a situation where restraint was not only possible but clearly required, was wrong in a way that every experienced baseball mind present recognized immediately. Ohtani absorbed the impact and went down. The sound that came from the crowd in that moment was not a gasp. It was not a collective intake of breath. It was something deeper and more primal than that, the sound of thousands of people simultaneously confronting something they did not want to be real. What happened next unfolded with a speed that left no time for cooler heads to intervene. According to multiple inside sources, the Dodgers players who had a direct line of sight to what occurred were moving before Ohtani had even fully registered what had happened to him. Not cautiously. Not hesitantly. With the kind of immediate, unified physical response that communicates, beyond any possibility of misinterpretation, that an entire team has reached its absolute limit simultaneously. Both dugouts emptied within seconds. Both bullpens began making their way onto the field moments later. According to those present, the scene that followed was one of the most chaotic and genuinely frightening that many veteran baseball observers had witnessed in years. This was not the carefully choreographed near brawl that baseball occasionally produces, the kind where players rush the field, grab each other's jerseys, and allow coaches and umpires to separate them without anyone truly committing to physical confrontation. This was different. According to multiple sources, there were specific confrontations within the broader chaos that required significant physical effort from coaches, umpires, and team personnel to bring under control. Voices were raised at volumes that could be heard clearly from the press box. Words were exchanged that multiple sources described as the most aggressive they had heard in a professional baseball setting in recent memory. And at the center of all of it, surrounded by teammates who had placed themselves physically between him and any further threat, was Shohei Ohtani. Still down. Still being attended to by the Dodgers medical staff. Still the reason that every single person on that field had lost the ability to think about anything other than what had just happened to him. According to multiple sources with knowledge of the medical response, the Dodgers training staff reached Ohtani within seconds of him hitting the ground. What they found when they reached him, the specific nature of the injury, the immediate assessment of its severity, sent a visible ripple of concern through every Dodgers personnel member who received the initial report. The medical staff worked on Ohtani on the field for several minutes. According to those watching from the dugout, the length of that evaluation, the care with which the medical team moved, the deliberate pace of their assessment, communicated more than any official statement could have in that moment. This was not a minor situation being handled cautiously out of an abundance of care. This was a serious situation being handled with the gravity it deserved. When Ohtani was eventually helped to his feet, the reaction from the stadium was immediate and overwhelming. But according to multiple sources present, the relief that accompanied seeing him upright was tempered immediately by the way he was moving, carefully, deliberately, with a visible discomfort that those who know him well recognized as significant precisely because Ohtani never allows discomfort to show unless it cannot be hidden. He was removed from the game immediately. Dave Roberts made that decision without hesitation. And according to those familiar with his thinking in that moment, it was not a difficult decision. There was no version of events in which Ohtani remained on that field after what had just happened. The only question was how serious the damage was. And that question, according to multiple sources, would not be fully answered until the medical evaluations were completed. Within hours of the final out being recorded, Major League Baseball issued a statement that confirmed what the baseball world had already concluded from watching the footage. An official investigation had been opened. According to multiple sources familiar with the league's internal processes, the investigation was initiated with a speed that reflected the seriousness with which MLB was treating the incident. This was not a situation where the league would review the footage over several days and arrive at a measured response after careful deliberation. The nature of the play, the player involved, the severity of the outcome, the reaction it had provoked across the sport, demanded immediate action. According to those with knowledge of the investigation's scope, MLB officials were reviewing not just the specific play that injured Ohtani but the full context of the game, the sequence of events leading up to the incident, communications between the two teams and their respective dugouts, and the conduct of multiple players during the brawl that followed. Several ejections had already been issued before the game concluded. According to multiple sources, additional disciplinary actions, suspensions, and fines affecting players from both rosters are expected to be announced in the coming days. But the central focus of the investigation, according to those familiar with its direction, remains the Met star whose play caused the injury. And the question being asked most urgently within the league's offices is one that has no comfortable answer. Was it intentional? According to multiple sources with knowledge of the early stages of the investigation, the footage has already been reviewed multiple times by senior league officials. And the conclusions being drawn from that footage, according to those familiar with the process, are not ones that will be resolved quickly or easily. The Met star has not yet made a public statement. His organization released a brief comment expressing concern for Ohtani and stating that the play had not been intended to cause harm. But according to multiple sources inside the baseball community, that statement has been received with significant skepticism, both within the Dodgers organization and across the broader sport. Dave Roberts faced reporters following the game with an expression that those present described as the most serious they had seen from him all season. He did not perform composure. He did not deliver the carefully managed responses that managers typically produce in high-pressure media situations. He spoke with a directness and a controlled anger that made clear, to every reporter in that room and to every person watching, exactly how he felt about what had happened to his player. According to multiple sources present, Roberts stated that what occurred on that field was unacceptable. That regardless of how the investigation ultimately characterized the play, regardless of what conclusions the league drew about intent, the outcome was a serious injury to one of his players. And that outcome, in Roberts' view, demanded accountability. He was then asked about Ohtani's condition. Roberts paused before answering. And that pause, brief as it was, communicated more than the words that followed. He said that Ohtani was being evaluated. that the medical staff was conducting a thorough assessment, and that further information would be provided when it was available. He did not say Ohtani was fine. He did not say it was minor. He did not offer the reassuring language that organizations typically deploy to calm concern about injured players. He said the evaluation was ongoing. And everyone in that room understood exactly what that meant. According to multiple sources, the atmosphere in the Dodgers clubhouse following the game was the heaviest it had been all season. Players sat in silence that nobody moved to fill. The usual sounds of a post-game locker room, music, conversation, the gradual unwinding of competitive tension, were completely absent. Every person in that room was waiting for the same information. And until that information arrived, nothing else felt relevant enough to speak about. According to those present, several veteran players sat together near Ohtani's locker, not saying anything. Just present. Just there. In the way that teammates are there for each other when words have not yet caught up to what just happened. Freddie Freeman, according to multiple sources, was among those who remained in the clubhouse longest after the game ended. He did not make a statement to the media. He did not appear in front of reporters. He stayed inside. With his teammates. In the room where the weight of the evening was still settling over everything. One source described the atmosphere simply. It felt like everyone was holding their breath. The Dodgers face a situation that extends far beyond the result of a single game or the outcome of a single investigation. If Ohtani's injury proves to be significant, if the medical evaluations reveal damage that will keep him off the field for any meaningful period, the implications for this team, for this season, and for everything the organization has built around his presence are almost too large to fully calculate. The Met star faces disciplinary action from a league that is under enormous public pressure to respond with proportionate severity. The investigation will produce conclusions. Punishments will be announced. Statements will be made. But none of that changes what happened on that field. None of that gives Ohtani back the moment that was taken from him. And none of that answers the question that the entire baseball world is asking tonight, the only question that truly matters right now. How is Shohei Ohtani? The answer is coming. And when it arrives, it will shape the rest of this season in ways that nobody is yet fully prepared to face. The baseball world is waiting. And the Dodgers are holding their breath.